People who haven't been parents don't really appreciate how much focus and patience and love and care and action is required to raise even one kid well. We have our set routines. We'll set intent in the morning. So we talk about emotional self-regulation. We talk about the importance of staying calm. And if someone, knocks you off your calm, even if they were wrong, they've still won. Even if they're the one insulting you, if you react, you lose. So we framed it like that. My main thing with my daughter, and this has been the policy pretty much as soon as she was little. Anytime she calls me on what's known as the Papa iPad, I answer. Like, she knows Dad is present for her. The masculine is present for her.
Hi, Joules. Welcome to Parenting Without the Podcast. Great to have you here.
Honored to be here, brother.
So it's a real pleasure. We've spent some great time off camera, getting to know each other a bit more.
I had to decide to turn the cameras on. We're talking about
But it's good. So very much a like-minded brother.
Very much.
So you've got two kids. How old are you? A boy or girl?
Yeah, 13-year-old boy, 11-year-old girl. Half Swedish, half Australian. I'd say 95% Dubaian, if that makes sense.
Yeah. How long have you been here for? Were they raised here then, maybe?
Yeah, they were raised here, back in Sweden for a bit, then over here a bit. So doing, a bit of both. And I think that's a fantastic contrast. I think Dubai is a wonderful place to raise kids, but there's something to be said for that grounding in nature, running around, that you can get somewhere like Sweden or Australia, if you're a bit rural, which they are, which is great. So I like to think that they're raised in two different societies and have taken benefits from both.
I love that. And so look, you're an entrepreneur yourself. You've gone through a big transformation, and I know you're very. You talk a lot yourself about how to be as a man and a father and a parent. How do you bring that into, let's say, your son, and how does that translate into how he's schooled and the sort of things that you teach him in terms of his upbringing?
I'd say a massive amount of conscious effort, massive. Yeah. I know some friends are like, I want to have 10 kids. I'm having one and doing it properly. It's a huge lift. It's a huge lift. And I think people who haven't been parents don't really appreciate how much focus and patience and love and care and action is required to raise even one kid well. So we have our set routines. We'll set intent in the morning. And that was especially when he first started at a new school and there were some tensions. We had to set that intent. Otherwise, I'd get phone calls from the school.
Yeah.
So we talk about emotional self-regulation. We talk about the importance of staying calm. And if someone, knocks you off your calm, even if they were wrong, they've still won. Even if they're the one insulting you, if you react, you lose. So we framed it like that. At the end of the day, we'll do a review as to what he could have done better, these sorts of things. Often he'll journal that. And then every evening we'll do the gratitude, 3 points of things that, that we're grateful for, which of course we know through science is a very good way to dial in, fulfillment into young humans. That gratitude piece ties into happiness directly. But also for me as a parent, it's a very interesting insight as to what my kids are most grateful for. It's not going on the fancy yachts or fancy holidays. Invariably, it's when they had that full presence with their dad.
Yeah.
It's not the stuff. It's that presence.
That connection.
Really. So I'm always learning from the process. I won't lie, I do find it absolutely exhausting sometimes.
Yeah.
You just keep putting in so much effort and they keep, all right, another email from the school. But
Yeah.
But I think especially with boys nowadays, the amount of energy they have, I don't think that the modern system caters for that at all. And so you have to do it outside. Boxing is huge. He does his PT in the morning, most mornings. He does prehab. I'm a bit broken from army days, so we're trying to avoid that with him. So he does a lot of sort of proactive, the stretching piece, the mobility piece, all these sorts of things.
That's amazing.
He's got a professional level boxing coach, which is great. He has people helping him with the running, with the chess, with the Arabic. So I'd say his life outside of school is probably more demanding than inside school.
Right. And I suppose that's the things that you've learned in life that you're essentially paying forward to put as pillars in his upbringing.
Definitely. And I'm conscious of not being that parent who's like, I wasn't pushed, so I'm going to push you. Yeah. I'm not doing it for me. It's his life. With everything, because as you know, private coaches cost money, right?
Yeah.
I say at the start, all right, we're going to do another 3 months with the boxing coach. Do you want this?
Yeah.
Because this is real money that your dad's earned.
Yeah.
Yes, I want it, Dad. All right, and what does that mean? What are you going to commit to? And he understands the way he gives gratitude is by committing to whatever, extracurricular we're talking about.
I love that. When you say it can be quite exhausting, right? So I'm divorced. So I'd have my son on weekends. So I'd be working in the week.
That's difficult. I did that.
But look, if I say today, one of the things that I'm most proud about is who I am as a father, right? And again, we spoke a bit before, like I had a heart attack and I was lying on the bed about to go into theatre. And I asked myself the question, if I don't wake up, what kind of father have I been? And I have to tell you, I was really proud of who I have. And that's put me a lot of ease, right?
That's real.
And I made a lot of priority. I made him and that connection priority. Now I'm stepping back from that a little bit because I know he understands that love and bond, and I want to show him more in a different way of certain things. But sometimes I'd have like, especially my son's 9, so 2 things I want to share with you. He'd ask me loads of questions, and sometimes I'm driving along, or we've got driving now, or different times I'm focused somewhere, and he's asking me constantly, and I'm like, God, can't you give it a rest? And I take a breath and realize, hold on a minute, this is how he's learning, right? He's not doing it to be annoying, and actually I need to be more present than let my mind drift. And understand he's actually trying to find out information of how the world works and how can I use this model. So again, I'm lucky that I've learned some stuff that helps me regulate myself.
Well, that's a very powerful reframe. Instead of my kid doesn't shut up, it's hang on, this is how my kid evolves. Yeah, I like that. That's a good reframe.
He's actually connecting me, and this is my opportunity to teach him a better way to think. But I just want to share something with you. I was out for dinner last night with a friend, and it was my friend's, one of his son's birthday. He's 3 years old. And so my son's sitting next to me, and we're at Nobu in the Atlantis, and this 3-year-old's climbing up onto my son. And as he comes and his head can bang on the table, my son's put his hands like that, go, watch your head.
Yeah, nice.
And I just looked and I thought, do you know what? I'm just so proud because his awareness and protection and caring, I just thought, that's awesome. These are the things.
I love that. You can see the training's gripping in moments like that, right? The role modeling is gripping.
Absolutely. And he's taken on as his duty to protect the smaller kid. And I just thought,
that's beautiful.
Well done, son.
I'd be very proud if I saw that as well too. And I think if we look in the science behind this, the teachers have some impact. The parents have some impact. One of the biggest impacts on young kids is the peers, right?
Yeah.
And so finding peers who are, as you said, with that example, protective and respectful and aware, but also motivated and really switched on and not just living on screens. How do you manage that? Because being that it's such an important part of the kid's development, how do you encourage him to get, productively sort of influential friends?
Yes, I mean, that's a great question. I suppose we've got to ask you the question.
Well, okay. I'll give the answer to my question.
Yeah.
I always ask him, so what's your friend circle like? What are they like?
Yeah. And he's 13, right? So he's a little bit older than mine. Yeah.
And he'll say, well, this guy's okay, but he's a bit sort of lazy. This guy's okay, but all he wants to do is play video games. This guy's okay. He's on track to be a competitive swimmer. I'm like, let's talk about that guy. And then I'll remember the name of the motivated kids, and I'll say, how's that motivate? What's happening with the motivated kid? And I'll just let him know that, because instinctively sons are seeking dad's approval, right?
Yeah.
I will put my approval on his positive influence friends.
Yeah.
And I'll say to him with his negative influence friends, mate, you don't owe them anything.
Yeah.
You do not owe it. Don't be that people pleaser. If someone's an anchor on your life, even at the ripe old age of 13, you're allowed to distance and lean into the people who are respectful, who do appreciate you, and who are disciplined themselves. Because my son's level of discipline, especially outside of school, I don't know many other kids who are living like that. So it can be a bit hard for him to connect with other kids.
And again, that's a testament to you. You raise the standards, don't you? And again, hopefully makes him attract the highest level of the people around him. So my son's got a little group. Here's another big compliment as in for me. Like he's got a group of two friends really, and they go on Roblox together. They do their stuff together, but they're their own little group. And one day, my son's added me to he's got his own phone, right? He added me to their WhatsApp group.
Oh, cool.
And he's gone, hey guys, I've added my dad. I never asked him. I don't know why he did it. But he goes, hey guys, I've added my dad to the WhatsApp group. And I was like, I felt so like, I'm a voyeur here, just watching what's going on, making sure everything's good. But the lead up to that, funny enough, so they're all good. One of his friends is pretty naughty, and I hope the parents don't watch this episode to probably know who. But they're a little bit naughty, and they're really good friends. But sometimes stuff would happen, and they're playing up. And I mean, like the other day, they came round to my apartment. We took them out on the boat, and then they had a sleepover at my house, and then they dropped a spoon out of a high window. Right, and it's like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like it was just kids' idea. It's like
sometimes they'll push each other to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And God forbid, imagine it hit someone on the head or something, So it's mischievous like that. But anyway, what happened in this situation? Over Roblox, over all this stealer brain rot stuff, right? They've turned, and so there's one kid he's a big kid. He's tall, he's big, and he's turned on my son. My son had been off ill all the time, so he's like kicked him out of the group or whatever. Anyway, started swearing at him. And but how my son handled it at the time was, we're friends. Why are you so angry?
Amazing.
Right?
And
So
this
there's
is
a
a
level of
9-year-old?
maturity. 9-year-old. Yeah. He might have been 8 when this happened.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I had my ex-wife telling me, like, she was listening to the conversation
Mm.
and she was like, she couldn't believe how mature.
That's amazing. I'm still working on that with my son. He gets a bit competitive. So props to you, man. That's awesome.
Well, he's competitive as well. But again, and I wonder if it was
combative. My son's reflex is,
well, I wonder if the kid was smaller, if he'd still be like that. I don't know, because this kid is a big kid and he boxes as well, right? They like box together. It's a much bigger kid. But anyway, the bottom line is so I was a little bit concerned. What's going to happen when they go back to school? Is there going to be bullying? You know, and I'm not going to tell you on camera what I told my son, right? But the point is they got back to school and they were just like best friends again, right? And this kid's like, oh, can you come out to my house? Can you do this? You know, and
that's a funny one. One week they're ready to kill each other. Next week they're best mates again. It's a funny one.
And then you realise we're different as adults because we hold on more to stuff. And for kids, it literally just is it's water off a duck's back. I don't think they hold so much. But I do think that the earlier ages of a kid shape how they think. Like, go back to fitness. Like, I have to work really hard to be fit. I didn't get into exercise as a kid.
Okay.
And I actually became fat as a kid. And so I appreciate exercise as an adult, but I find that the set point in life, in business, a lot happens at childhood. You can change, but I think you work harder to change. But I think if you get the foundation right at an earlier age, I think it's a much more solid foundation.
Fully agreed. Yeah, fully agreed. And I think that's why I put so much effort in. And I say to him that one of the lines I use all the time is, look, especially if he doesn't feel like doing his Arabic or he's not really in the mood for chess, I'm like, your future you will thank you. You're not doing this for now. You're doing this for the 18-year-old version of you. Who was a weapon at this. He's capable at this. He's switched on that. And you're going to be so grateful because you're going to be so far ahead of your peers. Then you're going to get those positive emotions of basically winning in everything you do. That's what you're working towards. He's like, okay, Dad. So I think reframes like that really help. But as you said, when the brain has more, neuroplasticity, that's the time for them to really be pushing. And I think we go back hundreds of years. An 11-year-old kid, a 9-year-old kid, a 13-year-old kid, they were out there learning life. Nowadays, they're in the classroom just sort of passing time. So I give props to any parent, such as you and as much as I can as well, who takes full ownership of outside of the school is where your growth happens. And what is the plan that we'll build together? Every time that, my son, he has a big whiteboard and it has days of the week. Every time we feel that something's a bit much or he's got a bit of free time, we'll sit there in front of that whiteboard and we'll say, right, we're moving this to here, we're moving that to there. And also, if you feel bored, these are the things you can do. Because I often, there'll be, depending on how he's behaving at school, there'll be no screens for a month. And that's not even TV. No screens. If you're bored, you're bored. But also you have to give them those activities to do when they're bored. And I find, with his way of focusing, I'll just say, Amadeus, go and look at the board. He'll go and look at the board and say, oh, I've got lots of things to do. But if he doesn't do that, it's just like, oh. So it's structure, I think,
1,000,000%. So, and by the way, Shane, I really rate a lot of homeschooling parents. In the US, a lot of the people I know have shifted to homeschooling. With the situation in the UAE at the minute, I don't know for sure what's going to happen. I reckon schools are probably going to be closed till September.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why. Are your kids in school normally or do you homeschool?
In school.
In school, right. I just think that when you look at the time it's going to take for everything to die down, and listen, again, I'm going to pick your brain on this because you're going to probably have better insights than I do, but as a layman looking from the outside, think even if everything stopped today, which it doesn't seem like it is, it will take a few weeks to settle down. I think that some of the teachers aren't even in the country. I think that they want to get to more of a secure place. Then you've got some of the summer holidays. So I just think that they're probably going to look at it and think it's easier to reopen in September is what I reckon. But regardless, for me, this has been an impetus for me to reflect on, do I ever want to go back to school? And what I'm actually thinking is, so I have my own missions in life as an entrepreneur, as a person, where I want to travel the world, I want to do some impact, I want to go over to Africa, I want to do some good stuff. And I'm actually thinking I'd like to take him with me. And
that's cool.
With this, and also with developments in tech and stuff and the things we could do, I actually think I'd rather him start online businesses, fail, just play around. I will support that because what I pay a month in school, I mean a quarter, it cost me at least $2,500 a month at least, right?
I did the maths when I looked at all the different things involved in school. It was at least $30,000, $35,000 a year minimum. And that's real money in this world. You can create. What if we use that money to self-direct?
And so I'm looking like, what if I just let him set up some businesses? And I did something the other day, right, where to make a little website. And I went, what would you want to make? What ideas do you have? And he goes, a meme battle. right? You know where they upload memes,
Cool, yep.
and like within like minutes, we've had this like website up where people can vote on it. Now it's not money making, and it might not even last, right? But that's first idea. But what happens if he fails at that for the next year?
And then execution on the idea, and then that's life, man. Really.
Yeah, and actually, by the way, just going on something else, we were talking about the lithium mines of the product, right? Self-learning for an hour a day, which I put him on. Anyone can change their life if they commit to an hour a day of learning a skill set, whether that's gym, whether that's chess, whether it's whatever. An hour a day, if you can self-discipline for an hour a day consistently, you can get good at anything.
Yep.
Right? And I think that in addition to what he's learning, like putting that discipline of an hour a day where he has ownership of that 1 hour,
100%.
that it's just a skill set that's going to set him up for whatever he wants to be when he's up.
On top of my son's weekly schedule board, it says disciplined decisions daily.
Yeah.
That's the game, and you're building those habits.
Yeah.
I think there's genuine, especially with AI coming in, there's genuine sort of credibility to the argument that is school even the way to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Now, okay, the social piece, the learning how to deal with interpersonal conflict, the learning how to deal with a difficult teacher, sure, I get that.
Yeah.
But is it really teaching our kids in an efficient manner how to go out in the world and create and build? No, it's teaching our kids to be good little obedient, essentially elevated factory workers.
Yeah.
After this, jumping through hoops, then you do that, jumping through hoops, then you go and get a job and jump through hoops. I've lived as a very sort of time-restrained individual. I was in the army and then, corporate for 15 years, absolute time slave.
Yeah.
I'm now living as an individual who runs businesses. I think that's a more elevated, more productive, more healthy way to live. And I'd like my kid to do that. I don't see school instilling any values that lead to that life path at all. And that's why the product that you have coming, I think, is super interesting in that if you've got kids committing to that, what are they going to school for?
Yeah.
It's tricky to answer, right? And then therefore, what are we paying this money for, prof?
Yeah. I mean, and I think that the situation, look, I think in life, look, no one would want this situation to come to the UAE the way it has. But I think one of the things that you do is makes us proud about being in the UAE. It always pivots and innovates through these and evolves.
Look at COVID, man. Just kept winning after that.
Well, look, I think what's happening right now in the world is going to impact the whole world, right? People might be talking about missiles, but listen, gas prices are going up, inflation's going to go up. I'll bet on the UAE to bounce back faster than any other country.
Fully agree.
Because leadership dictates everything. Yeah,
and ability to execute too.
Yeah.
They're not restrained by the need to keep the voting populace happy for the midterms.
Absolutely.
They're not just constantly trying to self-enrich like Western politicians.
Yeah.
The leaders here are born and raised as leaders.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at these politicians in Australia, they're just squabbling little man babies. They're not leaders. They're not kings, bro.
You see, well, you use the word kings. It's quite funny. I look at things. I think a king is someone that either he believes one or two things. Either the people are there to serve him because he's king, or he's there to serve the people because he's king. And when I come to the UAE, I feel like the leadership here is here to serve the people.
So clearly.
And I think that in the Western world, I don't want to speak so overly generically, but my overall feeling is they're there to feel like, hey, I'm in power.
Yep.
How do we drain you from money and taxes?
I've got 4 years to self-enrich, and how do I keep the people down?
Yeah.
When you look at the leadership here, they are born so far beyond money. It's not a flex anymore. They don't want to get more money.
Yeah.
Their flex is, I want to build the best city in the world.
And
we benefit from that.
Totally.
Whereas the system in the West wants to keep you in your place, pay your taxes, die. Don't create any issues for anyone. It's a totally different mindset. I wouldn't want to be anywhere other than this. It's almost, without getting too metaphysical, there's an energetic frequency that's different in a society where the leaders want you to win.
Yeah.
In the West, as you know, you get to a certain level, they'll come after you. There'll be an issue with taxes somewhere, or there'll be, the system will come after you to get a piece of pie. It's how it works. Here, they want you to win, or we wouldn't be here.
Totally.
And so, as a result, there's a different energy in whether it's building businesses or interacting with people. I think people who have been here for a while and who are about this city and this country, they really do operate on a different frequency.
I'll tell you now, with the people that have left, I thought it's nearly been a bit of a clean out. So you've got the core nucleus that's here that are like Dubai-ified, that are like, no, this is my home, and it's nearly like I was out on the boat the other day. The air feels cleaner. It's really, a bit like you say, metaphysical, right? Really, I don't know if you feel the same thing.
A bit of an energetic cleanse.
Yeah, there is. I think that it was becoming. It's always been probably the best city in the world. I think that it got to a point where it was they lowered the barrier to entry where some of a lower level was coming in, and I think they were the first to leave.
Yeah, I'll pay that. And it was it was getting a bit busy.
Yeah.
I actually believe the traffic will be back by October. I'd love to talk the security environment if you want. But just one thing that I find super interesting. So one of the businesses that I set up just because I was sick of seeing people overpaying is a visa and business startup company.
Yep.
I've stopped marketing that over the last month just because I don't want people saying, see, this is why you speak nicely about Dubai. You're trying to make money. It's a small business. We've had 4 times the business in the last month without me marketing it since the conflict started.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of an indicator is that? I mean, it's super interesting. I'm not even feeding it for my socials. It's just organic.
Anthony Joshua's just moved here, I think. So many people are moving in Highlis. And it's like, listen, when you live here, it's like, I saw an Instagram post the other day. Someone said, I was living in Dubai before and I thought, it couldn't get any better. And now the roads are clearer. All the beach clubs, like, you go wherever you want, you get great deals. I'm in heaven, you know?
See, I was here during 2008, 2009, when the global financial crisis happened. I was walking down the walk in JBR on a Thursday afternoon and it was empty. I was like, okay, so I understand a lot of people have left and a lot of people saying, oh, Dubai's done. But this is kind of cool. I have world-class infrastructure.
That's exactly it.
For me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for my friends.
Absolutely.
I think we're very privileged to be here in many different ways. I think in the security sense, and this is where I think a lot of people, maybe from the West, don't quite understand the reality here. We are still mathematically, and anyone can grok this or fact-check it, statistically, we're safer here than walking down the street in London.
Totally.
There was 1 death, RIP, of course, in the Emirate of Dubai. That's 1 death in a month.
Yeah. Of missiles coming in.
And billions of dollars spent to keep us safe. We didn't pay tax for these billions of dollars. Meanwhile, you live in London. Try calling the police. When you are paying tax, you don't get any protection against threats that are real.
Yes. Literally, people call the police and they say there's nothing we can do.
It's a real thing.
In fact, you know what's happening now in the UK? Someone told me looting. I don't know if you know this, because legally police aren't allowed to stop people. People aren't allowed to stop. So literally people are just going in, and there's not even a crisis there. They're just going in and looting just for the sake of no one can say anything. So I mean, it's
try that here.
Yeah. But again, now, you know what? Let me take it from the government scale back to, like, again, parenthood and everything, right? I think it comes from self-respect. So, you know, I'm Jewish. UK is a Christian country, but they've let their identity go to be like, I don't want, you know, and say, hey, anyone can come here and like, look, I was doing a promotion in a company that I work with, and we were going to do a Christmas promotion, and they said, we're not allowed to call it Christmas anymore. We can offend people. Now, at that point, they lose their self-respect of who they are. You come to a Muslim country, and they go, hey, we'll welcome you, but we're a Muslim country, so we're going to have mosques, and we're going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to have Ramadan, and you respect that, and if you don't respect it, you leave, right? And so, and it comes back to the individual. If you don't have self-respect and you don't have self-love, no one else is going to have respect and love for you. So you have to...
Interesting. So that applies on a societal level. I haven't heard it put that way. That's super interesting. Because there is a sickness at the moment in Western society, and it's a self-sabotaging, almost like... lack of self-respect. They're not valuing themselves and their...
If they went and said, hey, we're a Christian country and we have Christmas, you don't like it, go back to your own country. People go, okay, we better behave ourselves here. We better be like that. Whereas when they've sort of made themselves like a whore to everyone, people have gone, well, you're a whore, basically.
Yeah, what are you? You're nothing. It's a real thing. I think the West is going to continue to decline as well. I see irreparable damage being done in many societies. And you can argue that's many different things. But I think a big part of it is the fact that UAE is an access-controlled country. The same way this is an access-controlled building, right? We have access control cards, we have guards. The whole country is like that. They control who comes in. If I was running a country anywhere in the world, wouldn't that be logical?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that? And look, I come from Australia, which is a country of immigrants, right? We're all immigrants there, effectively, except the Aboriginals. But at least there's some sort of checking on who comes in.
Yeah.
This idea that, no, we should all be so understanding, we let anyone come in. Man, if I came from a war zone, like let's say I grew up in a really serious African war zone where I needed to commit crimes to survive. That was my only way to survive. And if I wasn't a bit rough around the edges, I'd get, I'd be walked over.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm implanted in Western Europe. I'm still who I am.
Yes.
I'm still a guy who is prepared to do whatever I have to do to get ahead. I don't even view it as something like...
illegal,
I don't think they're doing anything wrong. They just are what they are.
Yeah.
If you grow up in poverty in a war zone, even if you move to a different location, you're still going to do what you want to do. And then you have a legal system that is no deterrent whatsoever. Even if I get locked up, I just go and do PlayStation and gym for a few months in prison and get free food.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason not to commit crimes. It's a funny setup. And it's persisting. That's what blows my mind. They're not fixing it.
It's nearly sabotage, like you said, and I don't know why, but luckily we're in the right place. I want to get back to some parents. So I've realised, I'm just conscious that as we spoke about a lot of stuff, we've spoken mainly on your son, but obviously you've got a daughter. I've only got one son. You've got the joy of having both.
It is a real joy. Yeah. Very different parenting experience. Very different.
Talk to me. Tell me.
So my main thing with my daughter, and this has been the policy from pretty much as soon as she was little, because at first I was having to travel a lot with work. I was still working in, the sort of high threat environments when she was little. And then after divorce, she went back to Sweden. So 5-6 years ago. Anytime she calls me on what's known as the Papa iPad, I answer. I was running a mastermind with 40, 50 people. Yeah. Sorry guys, that's my daughter. Went out and had a 10-minute chat with her. Yeah. I was running an event on a yacht. 30 guys, high ticket, almost 20 grand per head.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, that's my daughter calling. Like, she knows dad is present for her, the masculine is present for her. And to me, that's offsetting one of the biggest risks I see in a lot of women nowadays, is that dad was busy. So in an early age, they form the belief system that I'm not worthy of presence or love or support from the masculine. Therefore, in their adult, because as we know, it's trauma looping, right? The other than conscious mind recreates situations of conflict from the past in the present because it feels familiar, or to try and resolve them. I don't want my daughter to feel anything other than I deserve love and presence and support from the masculine at all times. And as a result, she has a real self-confidence.
Yes.
I'd say she's even more grounded and more confident than my son, interestingly enough.
Really, yeah.
I'm always there for her. It's not all the time. We'll speak every couple of days.
Yeah.
Anytime she messages the masculine figure, you got support, you've got love, you've got presence.
Yes.
So that's what's familiar for her, not the absent dad thing. So she then goes and has a bunch of toxic relationships. That's my main priority with her.
But you see, your level of awareness and the language that you're using to even understand to do that, most parents don't have. And also, again, we live in a bit of a bubble in Dubai because the average person here is quite affluent and set up. But most parents in the Western world are at full-time jobs. They are putting out fires. They're actually thinking, how do I earn enough money to pay the bills? Not how do I provide this presence and masculine, secure.
The system's sort of set up against it in the West.
It is. And I think that becoming an entrepreneur today, going back even to the schooling and what to learn, becoming an entrepreneur today is even more prevalent when you understand these things, right? Because it's not just about having more money and a bigger house and a nice car. It needed to take the time you have that you can decide, I'm going to answer the phone. Sorry, guys, like you paid me a load of money, but this is my life and this is how I run it. Like I give you your money back. Like we make, when you're an entrepreneur, and you not just an entrepreneur, because entrepreneur is a big title that anyone in business could call themselves an entrepreneur. But you're successful enough to devise where you live life on your terms.
True, and a bit of time freedom and so on.
And then you actually start to value, this is what's important to me. It's not the money. And probably more often than not with, you don't really care so much about the money. You go, well, if it infringes on these things that are important to me, exactly. The money comes second, 100%. And then you end up making more money. Doing less work is the irony in the whole thing, right?
It is funny like that, definitely. And I really like that frame, that it makes sense to push for entrepreneurship to work so that you have the time freedom to be a more present family member. I love that.
Going back to schooling, and again, I was going to get my son on a YouTube channel. I got distracted. My goal is still either to get him into tech or YouTube now, to do something that he loves doing, because going back to how school is archaic, right? They don't teach having a YouTube channel. Now, for me, if my kid came to me and said, Dad, when I'm older, I want to be a YouTuber, I go, that's a genuine, great business opportunity. Because YouTubers today, if they're successful, are earning millions and millions of dollars. They're doing YouTube channels on things they love doing, so they actually live in their passion. They have complete time freedom, and they're considered celebrities, and other doors open, right? Versus when I was growing up, want to be a lawyer or an accountant, for example, right? If today my son said, well, I couldn't justify telling him, study maths, become an accountant, become a lawyer.
It's all getting replaced by AI anyway, right? Whereas the personal brand, which is that track you said, is more life freedom. That can't die. If anything, there's a desire for more authenticity. And I saw studies saying that the reality TV programs will come back more and more, because in a few years, you can have 100 Brad Pitts from AI to do movies. People won't care about that. They want that human connection.
Totally.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So I think that, like, again, if schools had evolved, not just in how they teach, but even what they teach, why are they not making courses right now going, hey, this is how you become a YouTuber? Like again, going back to the product that I've made, we talk about creator versus consumer.
Oh, wow. You're putting that into kids' minds already.
Because when my son was watching YouTube and he loves Mr. Beast, I said, listen, you become a fan, consumers become fat and lazy.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast isn't sitting there watching YouTube channels. He's sitting there coming up with ideas to get attention. So we're actually teaching within the platform, which I didn't show you, but we're teaching how to create attention.
Wow.
That's a
the
skill.
Attention economy in the mind of a kid.
Well,
Why don't schools talk about that? That's the whole game now.
But that is a skill that you need to learn for the modern world. Like you say, it's not how to operate a factory machine anymore.
Yeah.
It's now, I was talking to my ex-wife about this. Now, you need to learn even like technology is replacing loads of things. So the person that's going to win in the future is the person that understands how to use that technology to make value.
Definitely. Exciting time to be alive. I think there's a few reasons why schools are so old-fashioned, right? They move slowly because they're big organizations. A lot of people are just putting in the time to then go home. Usually, if you're an innovator and you're really fired up, you're not going to do something like traditional schooling. And I think in numerous ways, the way the world's going is against the interests of those who run the schools. In that, as you said, what's being taught is how to be essentially mostly in a factory work employee type, whereas what the world is rewarding now is the opposite way of thinking. It's almost like two different schools of thought. And that's why I think, especially with the product you're building, a lot of parents are going to be wondering, why am I bothering with the school thing?
Yeah.
I really like.
Well, when it comes out, I think when it gets a bit more to fruition, I think, as it starts to get used, I think absolutely.
Super interesting.
I want to ask you something though, and we could go down a rabbit hole here, right? Because I know your affiliations to the real world and the Matrix, but do you think there's an agenda to keep schooling where it is?
I think there are many different matrices out there. I don't think that's one sort of cabal of guys sitting in a room planning everything. But I think human nature is the same, whether you're a guy sweeping the I mean, bless everyone who does these jobs, just as valid, sweeping the floors or running a country. We still have preservation instinct above all, and the need to survive. And if you're a leader, government-wise, not so much this one, but politician-wise, you need to keep the voting populace happy with being taxed. You don't want free thinkers. You don't really want faith too much either, because you want to be the authority. Listen to me, I'm the head of the country.
You need to have control.
You definitely don't want strong, masculine men who are capable and warrior types. That's a threat. They're the ones who can overthrow governments. You want everyone weak. Ideally, you have a man sort of seceded his authority to his wife such that he becomes a self-regulating citizen.
Yeah.
To quote Tate during COVID, I would go and protest, but I have to be home by 8 or the wife will be angry. That's what a perfect way to control an entire population. And I think that runs true for pretty much every government around the world. Some few exceptions like this. I think government systems require people to be led. Yeah. And so they don't want to bring out that free thinking entrepreneur type animal, because they just sit there and do what you're told. And if we look commercially, what do we see in all these marketing messages? You will be sexier if you buy this dress. You're not cool enough if you don't have the latest iPhone. They're playing on insecurities. They want us weak and easily led, so they can sell stuff. Yeah. Again, if men like us, let's say you have faith, you have good brothers around you have love for your family, you don't need to go and buy a bunch of stuff to feel secure as a man. Totally, so the marketing messages don't really grip for masculine men. So I think both in terms of government systems and commercial enterprises who want to push their products, all of those leaders, the Matrix, benefit from us being weak and being easily led sheep. So I don't think it's a conscious thing, but it's a very profitable / useful for control thing.
So are you familiar with the book Think and Grow Rich?
Yes, indeed.
Napoleon Hill. Mm-hmm. Have you read Outwitting the Devil? Are you familiar with Outwitting the Devil?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I encourage you to read it, right?
Okay, nice.
I'll send it to you afterwards, right?
Thank you, sir.
And it's a less known book. Mm-hmm. Very mystical in nature. So Napoleon Hill, very renowned for what he's done, great book, okay? He wrote Outwitting the Devil, didn't get released until he died. And there's a whole, when you listen to the book, you'll hear the whole backstory or read the book, right?
Okay.
But anyway, I'll give you the top line. He's interviewing the devil with his wife, right? So there's a belief that when two more people come together in a common cause, they can achieve anything. And in this thing, they've manifested the devil and they're talking to the devil and he can't lie. Okay, and so he's telling the truth and he's saying, look, I'm a better salesman than God. People come on earth and da da da. And by the way, the devil isn't two horns and a tail. It's the dead space. It's the nothing. It's the inferiority. It's the thing where you don't feel worthy and all this, and how it grabs you. And he goes, so how do you control us? And he goes, through schools and churches. And Napoleon Hill goes, and by the way, this is in like the 1900s.
Okay.
Yeah. And the early 1900s. And Napoleon Hill goes, but schools and churches, they're good for us. And he says something along the lines of, I get you to fear me in churches and I numb your brain in school.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting. He's talking about the Matrix, bro.
I'm telling you, by the way, this is all these years ago. Yeah, this is like years, that's maybe a century ago from now, maybe more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he goes, what about school? So how should we learn? And he goes, well, you shouldn't be spoken at. And he's like, in this whole thing, he's like, he's sort of in, I do the audios versus the reading, but the devil said, don't make me tell you the answer, you're forcing me to tell you, I don't want to, but he can't lie in the whole thing, right? So, and he goes, they should work in groups to problem solve. So when you asked me, and we were talking initially about my product, because this is my life's journey, but there was things that I read in my life, like that came onto my peripheral, I don't know, 5-7 years ago, maybe. And then shortly after, Elon Musk opened his school. Are you familiar with Elon Musk's school?
No,
okay.
no.
So Elon Musk opened a school, I'm going to say at least about 5 years ago. And it was quite well known. And he didn't want to put his kids into normal schooling. So he opened a school, as Elon Musk would do, right? And everybody wanted to send their kids there. And it was a problem solving. It was problems in groups.
Yeah.
Now, I've read this book and I'm seeing that and I'm like, he's got it. Right?
He's read the book too.
He's read, yeah. He's got the resources. And then a lot of people in America wanted to send their kids there. And then what he did was he sort of ring fenced it and went, if you work at Tesla, you can send your kids there.
Wow.
Right. And it was like a value add
I like that.
to the Tesla employee. So yeah, look it up. And so just talking about why haven't schools evolved, I would argue, and again, the devil, I don't mean a red creature with two horns, but whatever the what's the word I'm looking for? Nemesis of progression and would be.
And Islam really does quantify the devil quite well. Essentially, it's the push to damage humanity and to get you to go into temptation and just mess your life up.
There you go. Yeah. So that, and I would say that whoever the powers that be or whatever the force is running it, because there is no way, like I would say that there's two failed systems in the world today, which is the education system and the health system. Right? And I would say even the health system has progressed more than the education system.
Yep, I'll pay that.
Yeah,
true. Really.
We're having things like peptides and stuff like that. It's still not fully there. We still have trillion-dollar pharmaceutical companies push us into a direction to get on drugs that don't heal anything, right? But there is at least a lot more holistic wellness things, but school hasn't evolved.
Yeah, you're right. It just hasn't changed at all. And when you see attempts to evolve, such as some of the online learning platforms, it's archaic stuff. It's not user-friendly. No wonder the kids and the parents are struggling right now. It's not engaging at all. There's no emotion. They can go on a TikTok and get massive amounts of endorphins and dopamine. Then they have to sit down on some learn from home thing from their school, which is just, even corporate employees would be like, yeah, this is boring.
Yeah.
Let alone kids,
I mean, the remote schooling now, right, what's happening right now is painful. I mean, I would expect that the schools that are paid fortunes, they're paid really good money, would be more prepared and would adapt and pivot faster. You
think so? I think a lot of the time they feel they have a captured audience, so they don't have to work that hard.
Yeah, well, that entitled mentality. So the one gripe I would say about the UAE, and I love the UAE, best city in the world. I feel, and I've lived here 5 years, I feel that for whatever reason, they're still following the West at some level. And I don't know why, because I think they've pioneered and they're ahead of the West.
Maybe that's the next step, to just think, right, we're doing our own thing. I mean,
I would love to see that. Listen, I'll be honest with you, I'd love to see Sharia law come back more. I'd love to see it stricter. I just think...
It's speaking to my heart now.
Yeah. Well, I'm just being honest with you. Like, I think that it has a higher grade of, like, discipline and standards.
Yeah. Standards, yeah.
I think that the more westernized they've become, like, to try and please, it's gone a little bit more downhill.
Fully agreed.
Okay, so just sticking on the parenting, so we can cover a lot of stuff here, right? But I think, and it all shapes into who we are as people. But you mentioned that your daughter, you're divorced from the mum, so you've got, I think you're with the mum of your son, is that right? Or
No, so that's both kids from previous marriage.
Yeah.
Daughter living in Sweden, son here with me.
Okay,
and
great.
Son's been back for 3 years because he was just bit too much energy for Sweden.
Okay, great. Okay, right. So you've kind of like kept one kid each kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I'd love to understand then how do you think it's important that your son is next to his dad? Do you think it's important the daughter's next to her mum?
I do agree
from
with
that. From that side, you know.
I think, I like the thinking that as soon as a man becomes capable of adding value to the tribe, it's time to be with the men.
Yeah,
and that's around, realistically 9, 10.
Yeah.
And even within Islam, there's some guidance that says, around that age, you should be around dad more. And for me, having my son around me a lot, I'd say is challenging, and that I'm doing it right. I put in a lot of time, but wow, you can see the growth, you can see the shaping, and also just the pure standards. I think a father is by nature, if we're talking in terms of traditional values, better suited to deal with an unruly, high energy young man, because he was one himself, than the mother.
Well, I think that, look, like we spoke about this before, like you don't need to get your kid to do the things that we didn't do, let's say, but I think that learning, being a man, understanding how to defend yourself, understanding how to be fit, understanding levels of discipline,
essential.
Emotional regulation. Listen, when I was younger, I didn't have that guidance. I did grow up with my parents, but I didn't have that guidance and understanding of emotional regulation.
Same, brother.
And I was a lot more explosive, a lot more confrontational. I grew up very different. I wouldn't want, and that energy, if misdirected, can tear the house down, basically. Which is, when you understand that, you don't want to spend your life building something and then one bad decision, you tear it all down.
Well, that's the thing. That testosterone-based energy is amazing for building, but it's also amazing for destruction. Right? It's the fornicate or murder type, in masculine energy. Build and lead, or just smash everything. Like it's quite a powerful thing that has to be channeled correctly.
Yeah,
it really does.
And it takes. And look, I'm going to be 48 this year. Like, there's a lot of wisdom in those years that wasn't passed on to me, unfortunately. Right, which I'd love to pass on to my son, because I think if I knew then what I know now.
Cheat codes, man. Amazing. Yeah.
And but I think being around and I've seen, so we've been divorced, and luckily we've been in the same country. My ex-wife couldn't necessarily push him into football or boxing or jiu-jitsu, right? And these are little things that I think that you need a man. And vice versa. I mean, I don't have a daughter, but I would imagine that, again, when it comes to time of periods and stuff like that, she'd want to be able to talk to her mum rather than her dad, I would imagine.
It's the ancient way. And sometimes I think it's okay to say the ancient ways make sense. We don't have to be modern and same. Like, I'm all about... I've been accused, in terms of my value system, of being a caveman, to which I've said, thank you. I try to live as close to biology and human history as I can, because that's kind of what works.
There's a lot to be said in that. Listen, and okay, if we go, and I know you're a very spiritual guy, I know we were talking before, I have another philosophy. I actually think our children are closer to God than we are, okay?
Yes, I agree with that completely, because they're closer to the source. That's why everyone wants to hold the baby, because they have that God energy in them, right? It's a real thing.
And so if I think what true happiness is, or true life should be, it would be unconditional love and playfulness.
Yeah, big piece.
And then what happens is, if you look at a baby when they come into the world, and there's they don't even know, they're just giggling at something, they're smiling, there's complete unconditional love. We spoke before about with my son, and the best friends, again, still different, but they can argue next day they're best friends. As an adult, the older you get, that trauma that you spoke about, we wear that trauma. Right. And so we needed that. I wouldn't say that necessarily damaged, but
we're weighed down a bit, right?
The same thing that protects us imprisons us. So we get hurt and we build up these.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that means that trust goes there. That means that don't be unconditional love. That means that don't forgive.
We're building belief systems during those formative years.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that I think that kids, and so you go back to caveman, by the way, but I think the same. We're doing a lot of metaphors here, but the same is true with the digital world. We've come into this world. I think caveman was our default. Today we have technology and we have this and we have that, and it's like it's all influence, and it all takes us away from.
And even down to the nuclear family, is it really natural or healthy to have a hyper energy teenager in the same house as a calm mother, in the same house as a sort of hustling father? We all have very different energies, and that's why I think the natural state, according to sociology of human tribes, is about 150 people. Right. So the idea of having thousands of friends is just a bit too much for our minds.
Yes.
And the young men go and play with the young men.
150 max, I think. It's something like from 15 to 150.
Exactly.
Right? So it can be smaller.
The young men go and play with the sticks and, hunting. The older men are out, providing, protecting. The women are together. the idea that we're all man, woman, daughter, son, meant to be in the same space all the time, it's not natural. It's a modern construct.
Yeah.
And I'd like to envision a world where we can live more in alignment with those 13-year-old boys should be hanging out with other 13-year-old boys.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the boxing club, right?
Yeah, totally.
The boost that my son gets with his boys, where they're, getting in the ring together, it's real.
So when you were talking about school and we were talking about the social side of school, because the education side isn't as relevant, but then it's the social side. But I see where I would move to myself, and I think if for homeschoolers as well, you could self-learn, but you get into the community inside the boxing, the football clubs, for girls it could be, I don't know, dance, ballet, whatever it is. But those are the communities of where you connect.
Yeah, hugely important. And I think that's something we should all emphasize as much as we focus on things like school and homework. What are the communities, especially with young men, the competition, right?
Yeah,
that's where, because I did a lot of sort of one-on-one training with my son, a lot of one-on-one boxing coaches.
Yeah.
Where he really started to level up was when he had his boys around and there was some competition and he had some banter.
Because you can relate as well, because as much as we can push as a father or even try and inspire, they're still looking up as we're their Superman at the end of the day, you know. But when they're next to the kids at their age, it's different, you know.
Yeah, it's a real thing. It hits them differently.
Let's have a look. So they prepared some stuff for me as well to talk to you about. Right.
Awesome.
So I'm going to read off some of these because and just to hear these some questions that some of my guys prepared. Right.
Okay, brother.
So in your view, the father is the guardian of the household. Beyond physical safety, how do you practically guard your children's attention and values from the modern influences you feel are the most detrimental to their development?
I like that. I don't care if he is not cool because he doesn't know the latest social media trends. There's no social media in my house.
Yeah.
If he's misbehaving, then screens are gone because there's a direct correlation between how much time he spends on screens and how much he misbehaves. So I've seen that. And I'd say that the one thing that I've learned, over the last few years is a lot of people think, being a leader and being that patriarch is about being firm and being, yes, have standards, but empathy, increased empathy. And there's a concept within Islam, sabr, which is like patience in an empathetic way. That to me is really magical with kids to just, we have to be off our devices. We have to be fully present and then just try and be as attuned to the emotional state of the kid as possible. That to me is probably the biggest improvement I've made to my parenting over the last few years. Just a massive focus on full presence, patience and empathy. Because as my son's energy levels go up, my goodness, I need more patience and I need more presence just to be able to manage him.
And by the way, though, even talking that, when you use words like patience and empathy, some people might not see that as like in line with the masculine image, right? But it really is like the true. I learned something with Tony Robbins that you go from knight to prince to king.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know if you've seen and
the archetypal.
And I think that the knight is more of that masculine. I think the king is more integrating that emotional regularity and understanding.
The calming everybody down.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing with marriages, right? Like the Prophet, peace be upon him, had 11 wives, never once raised his voice to any of them.
Yeah.
Now, at one point, he was so frustrated with all of the issues that he left them for 29 days and just went out in the desert. So he faced challenges, right? He still had the jealousy, he still had all these things. But it was so emotionally controlled and so empathetic. And one of the messages he'd give many times throughout his life was, the best of you amongst the believers are those who are best to their women. One of his final messages he was emphasizing was, be good to your women. One of the things he was saying when he was in front of the biggest crowds that he spoke to was, be good to your wives. I think that idea of masculinity isn't about being tough. It's not about exerting your will on your relationship partner. It's about increased empathy. It's about being that rock for her feminine energy to smash against and the rock stays the same. And little things, like if there's heat in the room, if there's anger in the room, as a man, sit down. These sorts of little steps,
So not to bring too much here, but just a bit of my personal background. I went through divorce at one point in my life, and at the same time, I had a legal battle with my family over a lot of money that was stolen. Okay? So I was right. I'm in the middle, getting squeezed both angles, right? And I made a decision at that moment. What they done was quite bad, and for me was unforgivable. And regardless, I understood that my wife at the time we were fighting. She was fighting out of fear for survival.
And that's key. It's not trying to do combat with you. They're in an emotional state. And instead of combating with them, step back, be the king instead of the knight.
And so this is and so what I decided to do was, I'm going to look after her first and foremost, because she's the mother of my child, my son's going to live with her, etc., etc. So I decided to provide and do a lot of stuff. So I give her a lot of money. When I meet a lot of people that, and if I'm dating, whatever, I meet other women that are divorced or whatever, they don't have the same thing. They can't. Most people can't believe what I do. But I've decided, and I live in abundance anyway, so it's just a mindset of like oxygen. Money's nothing in it. Just like air, if I want to breathe, there's more to come. Okay,
flows,
so I understand that I want to be, and I set the standard as well for my son. He understands. I'm still the man of my household, right? Like she's provided for. She doesn't actually need anything, and as a byproduct, she's not actually met anybody else, and so I'm still the daddy of the family, you know.
You know, that's very much in alignment with Sharia law.
I mean, again, I don't know.
It's 100%.
Really, yeah.
As a divorced father in under the Sharia law system, you do need to pay everything for the kids.
Right, yeah.
Like it's funny how I see a lot of Western liberals, Sharia law sounds so terrible, but at the same time, there are a lot of women in the West saying, where have all the good men gone?
Yeah.
What you're saying is normal under societies that follow Sharia law. Yes, as a man, even if you've separated from the mother, she's still the mother of your kids.
Yeah.
It's still your duty to not only pay, but also to be that leader if the need is there.
But do you know what then she does? She actually edifies me to my son all the time. So I like,
positive,
like
win-win.
you know, so he feels that there's a very much an emotional security in the whole thing. There's no battle with other men or women or you know, the mum and dad fighting. It's just, it doesn't happen. Like, you know.
Which is how I grew up, and it was very stressful. It's not healthy for kids to see that stuff. So much respect, bro.
Yeah.
That's what men should do.
Yeah.
that's simple.
You know, and again, I've just done this off my own back of my own beliefs and what I do. I don't really, you know, I don't really talk about this so openly, if I'm being honest with you, but it's just, I think that it's something you probably understand and connect with. Those things.
Because divorces can be tricky. I've seen a lot of men brought to their knees. And I think society will talk a lot about the difficulty of women going through divorce. I know a lot of men who had such a hard time.
But I've got to tell you, by the way, that I grew up poor. I had some success in life. At that particular period in my life was one of the first times in my adult life I was struggling financially. I was getting squeezed from different angles, put a load of money into crypto, and that dumped at the time, and you know, and all sorts of stuff happened, right? Everything that could have gone wrong. I had properties being rented out, and the guys weren't paying, so I'm having to pay. It was just like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong at the time, and I actually moved here. I had to leave him behind in Spain because she didn't want to move here. And she's Russian, so she chose to stay there. I bought her a house outright there, and I prioritised them. And I moved in. I was previously living in a 7-bedroom mansion in Spain, and I've moved into a 1-bedroom apartment here.
And that's the story here. So many times men take this big hit and they just let the family keep living well. Like it's very respectable, man.
Then I made sure she had a house, she had a car, and then I would take care of me afterwards. But the good news is, and with God's grace, I did.
Indeed.
Yeah, but again, part of the reframing was, I went there and I remember looking at this little small 1-bedroom apartment, and I went, this is what my life is. Like, I've been up here and I'm down here, you know. And then I just reframed it and I went, well, do you know what? Now you don't have any distractions. So before, if I'd want to get up at 5 or 6 in the morning, I might have my son jumping over me, and it would stop me. I'd end up laying in bed and having cuddles, right? Because I just want those moments, right? Yeah. Whereas now, I can actually go for a run. I can go and do this.
You're in that massive frame.
I can, and so you just have to pick the positive of wherever you are. You know, it's not what happens, because shit happens to all of us, right? But it's how you respond to what happens. And I just decided to reframe it and say, right, well, I get to recreate myself, and I want to go faster now.
Love it. So, bro, I said when we met, from following on social media, we have similar belief systems. We also have an incredibly similar life path. Really? When I got divorced 6 years ago, I was a corporate guy, so doing well. Yeah. But from that exact same thing, went from the big house, you know, in the lakes, a huge amount of money for me back then, renting this perfect house for the family. Yeah. Stay there. Yeah. I went and kicked off into an apartment. You know? So a step backwards, but I was so fulfilled in that I had my own space. Yeah. There was no conflict, and I said, you know what, it's time to build. Yeah. My personal financial situation went from decent corporate guy with one side hustle to retired and 5 or 6 businesses that are easily over 7 figures a year. Like, within reason there. But that is because I stepped out of struggling, stay together for the kids, we don't really match, but hey, do the right thing no, wait a sec, I'm going to go and live my life the way I know I should live in that masculine frame, that high output, get the good brothers around you, and just build. And it's a beautiful thing. So I often say when a man says, I just got divorced, I'll say, mate, I know that it's hard, but congratulations.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Because your best years are coming. You'll learn from this, and then you have more energy to go and build if you're that sort of guy.
Yeah.
It is pretty much inevitable, again, with God's blessings, that you're going to be in a much better position in a few years.
I think that the families breaking up is not the best thing, but I think that as parents, our duty is to prioritize our own happiness.
Exactly. We have to role model. We have to role model. I say to a lot of guys who are stuck in these unhealthy marriages for the kids, I'm like, what matters most isn't what you say to your son or your daughter, it's what you role model. Right now, what you're role modeling, let's say to the daughter, is someone who's unhappy and low testosterone. And do you want her to go and find a husband like that?
Yeah.
What you're role modeling to your son is someone who's putting up with and is angry at himself and there's tension. You want him to think that's normal? You have to go and be the man so that they see both what they want to be in terms of the son and who they want to marry in terms of the daughter.
That's what they follow at the end of the day.
It's absolutely vital.
Okay, right. Many parents today focus on their child's happiness as the primary metric of success. For you, is the goal happiness or is it duty and legacy? And how does that distinction change your day-to-day parenting style?
Nice, I like it. So I don't care about legacy. I think when I'm dead, I'm dead. I'm just not wired that way. Maybe it's because I just came from the opposite of money, so I don't really think like that. I don't care about happiness. I want my son to be balanced and fulfilled and to feel loved and appreciated. The happy sort of moods can come and go, don't care. As long as he's putting in a certain amount of effort every day and showing, non-negotiables like gratitude, showing respect to other people, he's going to be happy. He's going to be fulfilled anyway. So I'm. And again, if it was happiness, then he can go and eat however many chocolate bars or watch as much TV. Again, numerous months, there's no TV, there's nothing. There's not even Netflix, zero, no YouTube, nothing. Like it's out of not caring about happiness. I prioritize what's healthy for his development and his, I'll say, emotional well-being over happiness. Definitely.
Love that. I was reading a book just to talk about legacy. I was reading a book the other day called How to Die with Zero.
Yes, I know.
Do you know the book? Yeah.
I watched a summary on that recently. I like it, but I grew up too poor with too much fear of money to ever go close to zero again.
Yeah, no, I got you. But you know what? Again, I go back to when I was on this hospital bed about thinking, am I gonna be here tomorrow or not? Which was a genuine question, right? And thought, how much money have I left? And this, and I grew up poor. I want to leave a load of money, but then I also think as well. You see how much, you've heard the story, like. Tough times create strong men, strong men create good times, right? Yeah. So then I also think, firstly, in God's grace, whatever's meant to be is going to happen, basically, right? But the idea of Diamond Zero is like the idea of, I don't necessarily need to leave him money. I'd rather leave him education.
I'm not leaving, 100%. I made it clear my son's not getting any more money. Really, I'll pay for him to learn. I'll pay for him to have experiences. He wants to go do some sort of jungle survival course in Guyana, whatever. But my money's my money.
I was walking with my son and he goes, Daddy, we're rich. I go, no, son, I'm rich. But we get, no.
And studies show you're doing them a disservice if they know that there's daddy's trust fund there. It's not good. It's not healthy.
Totally. Right. As a former soldier and a public figure known for a hard exterior, how do you handle the moments that require vulnerability or softness with your children? And is that something that you've had to consciously learn to integrate with your disciplinarian side?
Interesting. I don't think of myself as much of a sort of hard guy, to be honest. I don't think I've ever tried to be that hard man. I mean, I've got a very heavy phone with a lot of useful people around the world who owe me favours. Capable perhaps, but I don't really push the hard man thing. I'd like to think that I've always been quite empathetic and quite attuned to the emotional states of the people who I'm leading, whether it's business or family. And I've got no issues being vulnerable. I've got no issues saying to a loved one, hey, this is hurting. We need to sit down. We need to look at this. Let's put some focus into this. If anything, I think, especially in time, my time in intelligence, where we were working with psychologists a lot, you really do. And this is not book psychologist stuff. This is what works in the real world. You learn that the more conscious you are with all things emotional intelligence and social intelligence and self-regulation and helping your loved ones giving them the tools to self-regulate, that's going to tie into life fulfillment more than just money or more than hustle culture. From an early age, I've prioritized the vulnerable stuff, the emotional and social intelligence stuff, the soft skills. I think it's a huge part of my success. And I think, again, if we're talking about the modern version of masculinity, which is about being tough, and it's a bit weak. It's not real. It's insecurity based.
Yes,
Genuine masculinity throughout the ages has been the tribal elder, the king who listens, who guides, who is. When the young men are like, let's go to war, he's like, hang on, let's calm down. So I think true masculinity is inherently very able to be emotionally present and vulnerable and attuned to the inner states of those you love. I think that is genuine masculinity.
You know, on that note, by the way, just again, jumping around these different topics, but you look at the UAE, something that's really inspired me by the UAE is they've been attacked and how they've been able to remain calm and
go
push
for a walk
peace.
in the mall.
But even the out thing is they're not like, we're gonna fight back at Iran. No, it's like let's still get peace. It's like in my friend who's Christian, you say, like, I think in the Bible says, if someone hits you on one cheek, turn give them the other cheek. And that'd be perceived as being weak. But I look at what the UAE leadership are doing now, and they're being antagonized at some level, or at a level.
Massively. Massive assault on the reputation of the country. Yeah.
And they're going,
on the safety.
If we get involved, that's going to do a lot more harm. We both lose.
100%. And I was honoured to meet one of the decision makers within the government, minister level, early on. And he said, this is face to face, he said, and it was with a group of people who were being briefed, and I was involved in the brief. He said the UAE is not going to get involved in this war in an offensive sense because the number one priority is the safety of the people here.
Yeah.
And I know, like, they've got a pretty capable military in terms of know, air assets. They could do a bunch of stuff. They're not doing any. That is an incredible restraint. Really.
Even to have the defence system that they've got, they've poured billions
Who would have
into.
thought?
Who would have thought they've got? Who would have thought they'd even be in this situation, right? It's like literally, but they prepared for the unexpected. And it's just remarkable. Like, I mean, they are real. Look, their leadership should be studied for years. It should be studied now.
And I think,
and
I have a theory that, okay, any press is good press, right? What's the world talking about? Dubai. It was so safe, now it's not safe. Yeah, but it still is if you look at it.
The masses are fickle.
Yeah, exactly.
They will switch.
They couldn't handle the pace here anyway. But I think more and more the world is seeing, hang on, that's a societal model that's very different to mine. And that's actual leadership. That's actual care. That's actually taking care of people. Whereas I'm paying tax for nothing near as good as that in my Western country.
You're not safe walking down the street there.
Exactly. And I think that any press is good press is going to lead to more people wanting to be here because, again, Dubai is on the forefront of everyone's minds.
Yeah. Firstly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here, Joel.
Likewise, brother. Likewise.
Just in closing, if you're out there talking to maybe another dad going through divorce or expecting a baby, or even a woman for that matter. It doesn't have to be just the man. It could be the woman maybe going through some tough times, or in preparation, or even raising kids and not really 100% sure. What would be like one or two real key things that you think is important, like to help them set them up to win?
I think a lot of people underestimate just how much effort and love and care goes into being a good parent.
Yeah.
Like you can be an absent parent, sure, but to be a good parent is massive. And one thing I often speak to, I think the expectations put on women today is completely unfair.
Yeah.
I do not think it's reasonable for a woman to be an attentive mother, a willing and passionate lover to the husband, and also be some corporate, door kicker. Like it's too much. And I think nowadays, a lot of the stress and tension in the home comes from just too much expectation put on the woman. And one thing I say to a lot of the men I mentor is, mate, she's focused on your child. Why would you want her to feel sexual towards you? This is nature. Her biochemistry has changed for a while to focus on something more important than the fact that you feel you're not being looked after in the bedroom. Right? So I think you need that North Star as a family to say, okay, it's not about my needs for a couple of years, especially when the kids are young. It's a huge effort, right? We need to really put aside what matters most for me individually and really focus on that family unit. And I think where society goes wrong is, as we're fed through the social media algo, it's all about me and my wants and my desires. And parenting is a very selfless task.
Yes.
And in many ways, it's quite a thankless task too, because you put all this effort into them, then they grow up and they're too busy to be around you.
I think you just touched on some great things there, by the way, because for two things, I mean, like entrepreneurialism, it's delayed gratification. That is also parenting, right? Like it really is. But I think also we're wired differently as men and women. And I think women need that safety, that feeling of safety to be grounded. And I think as men, we need a feeling of appreciation and worthiness for us to perform at our best.
And I'd say that I think men one thing a lot of men who are new fathers need to realize, you're not going to get that much appreciation. You're not going to get much intimacy from your wife.
Yeah.
It is okay to say, I'm going to go and do my kickboxing twice a week.
Yeah.
Like, be a bit selectively selfish as a dad and get out of that. And a lot of dads, they finish at work, they're wait back home. Your testosterone is going to come down. You're going to lose your fitness. As a father, you still need to do some man stuff with your boys. And it's okay to say that. Even if the wife's like, but I need help with the kids. Cool, I'm going to help you with the kids, but also I need to do what I need to do to keep my hormones right as a man. So it's a tricky balance.
Yeah.
But the idea that a man is meant to be a second mum is not real. And I see a lot of men fall for that trap. We still have to maintain our sense of masculinity and time around the brothers and fitness when the kids are young. It's super important. And even one day every couple of weeks, just go go sleep in your mate's house just to get a proper night's sleep. Again, and we give the analogy of the oxygen mask falling on the plane. It's got to be on you first.
Totally.
If you drop your own management of your own self as a man, physically, your masculinity, your mindset, your brotherhood, your friendships, your whole family unit's going to suffer. Even if the wife isn't happy about you going and doing these things, you have to explain, I need to do this to keep myself as a good leader for you and for the family unit.
I think that a man having a brotherhood or a group of guys that he can be around is one of the most underrated things. I think it's quite common in women. That the women have the girls' groups and the girls' days, and it's nearly perceived as maybe even a little bit like, I don't know, not as masculine, but men, we need that camaraderie. We need, and there's not enough of it.
I often say brotherhood is one of the highest forms of wealth. Like once you've got a certain amount of money, diminishing returns. Once you've got a certain amount of status, who really cares? You got good brothers around you, man. That's. But also it's natural. That's how we're meant to live. Oh, dude, very difficult. Hardest thing to find. Especially nowadays. I find men especially to be more and more entitled, more and more emotional. They're becoming more like women. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying the traits you see coming out in men nowadays are more and more feminine traits rather than masculine. And it's hard to find good brothers. It's a real form of wealth to have good brothers, really.
It's been an absolute honour and pleasure. Thank you so much.
Much respect. I still feel like there's a lot to uncover here, man.
Let's do it again.
I think we've had a very similar life path. We have very similar values. I just want to give you some props. In a world where everyone's doing podcasts saying, hey, look at me, hey, look at this, your podcast intent is very much, let's add value to parents, which is a beautiful thing. Let's add value to raising the next versions of ourselves, which I think is one of the most meaningful things we can do. So much respect, bro. Really, I love it.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, man.